Good morning, everyone. This is Surya here. So, I think we have good count of audience here. So, I'll get started. Before that, I just want to know if someone is like had some experience or working on this DevOps currently, and they are trying to shift, or who are completely new to this. I just want to know like that so that we can have some proper interaction. Once my demo is done, right, the bridge will be open so we can have a discussion like what are the queries you have, what are the questions you have, what you need to learn. Okay, is there any prerequisite or anything like these things I will be explaining in the demo itself right now. If you still have any questions, we can discuss at the end, like what are the other things you are looking for and what is your expectation from me. Okay, so before that, yeah, I hope everybody had some research on this DevOps, right? Or they might have already been working on this open source DevOps, if I'm not wrong. So does anyone works on DevOps, or everybody is new from different domains? From testing, from database, from operations, developers. Anyone who is working on DevOps right now? Open source, any tool, whatever it is. You can speak it, guys. Like, no need to type in actually. You can speak it, no issues at all. Everybody is new, right? So we are trying to learn.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, from testing
Oh,
background.
Raji is working and okay. Shishidhar is also working, right?
No, I'm
Fine.
not working. I'm from testing background and I'm new to Azure DevOps.
Okay, I think most of the people are from testing or something like that. Okay, I see no what do you say input saying that they have worked on DevOps. Okay, so let's say
Sorry, sorry. I'm
yeah,
working on DevOps actually.
open source or any other cloud.
No, on Azure DevOps. In Azure DevOps.
Azure DevOps, you're working. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Then my question is like, why you have joined?
See, actually, if at all you are covering this Azure Data Factory, I mean, in our company, in our project, we are using Azure Data Factory. I thought, I mean, are you covering this Azure Data Factory?
Okay, we'll do one thing. We are not covering it, but let us discuss what is your requirement at the end. Okay. Yeah, I got
Okay,
your
sure.
point. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. So let me start with the demo. Let's see what we are going to discuss, what are the services we are going to discuss, and what are the things we are going to discuss in Azure DevOps. So before that, I need to explain something related to DevOps, like everybody knows, right? So that is nothing but it's a name which is given, a community name which is given as DevOps, right? It's not the tool name or it's not some particular, what do you say, tool or some other particular cloud name. Okay, so, why we need to have this DevOps culture into our organization or our client means to deliver the product much faster by interacting the developers and operations team. That's the main motto of having this DevOps tool into picture. To be simple, okay, not I don't want to give some technical definition in deep and try to confuse everyone. It is so simple. Developers and operations engineer will use some common tools so that they can collaborate with each other, have some automation in process instead of doing everything in manual, right? And work on that fixes or bug fixes or development or functionality implementation, whatever they do all through automation process. That's where the DevOps came into picture, and we have seen so many tools in the open source market right now. So now what cloud is doing, every cloud, I'm not talking about only specific to Azure. What everybody is doing is everybody are implementing, okay, this DevOps platform in their cloud. What is that platform means? Now you know no need to worry too much about, just a second. So now you no need to worry too much about like what are the tools I need to learn. Okay, what fits, like which tool I need to pick for continuous integration, or which tool I need to pick for what do you say, the commits or the repository which I need to handle, or how to test my code, or how to deploy my code or deliver my code. Okay, how to create some particular dashboard to have communication among all the developers and the operations team. Okay, like something like Zira, Kanban boards and all, right, which we use generally if everybody is working in. Okay, so that's where we create some stories and we start working on it. We will try to implement something. If that is not available, we will try to take some open source and we will try to integrate to our CI/CD automation and all, right? So it's a lot of open source tools which we need to learn in order to do this DevOps culture implementation, right? Now you have seen a lot of things about DevSecOps, right? So DevSecOps is nothing but simple. What are the life cycle you are trying to manage of your application? You are adding security validation as well. Security in the sense, let's say I'm writing some code. Okay, so I need to see whether my code is following some best practices or not. Okay, anyway, you do some unit testing, right, to follow to validate that, or you will do some PyTest if it is a Python or something like that. Okay, what are these tools does is nothing but they will see whether your code is following proper what is indentations, proper coding style as per the new version and all. But you will be using so many open source libraries. Okay, if I'm not wrong, see, you will be calling some predefined or inbuilt libraries, or you will be developing your own libraries, or else you will be using some open source libraries and all modules or libraries, whatever it is. Then I is that modules and libraries are non-vulnerable? That you don't know, right? You're just using it, but you are not aware, or your client wants to validate that as well. That's where the security came into picture. It's not about only a coding validation. I'm talking about everything. Okay, even your website which you want to validate for vulnerabilities or phishing or whatever it is, or any other thing. Okay, that is nothing but a security, which is now everybody is hearing a lot about DevSecOps. Okay, everything can be implemented in any cloud platform related to the DevOps culture they are providing. Okay, so what will be my roles and responsibilities? It's like what I need to do. Okay, you need to plan that first, right? Let's say in most of the cases, if you are working on a new project, okay, or if you are trying to if a client is migrating his on premises DevOps into any cloud, okay, first you need to plan. That is the first thing we have to do, and we have to implement that, right? So first you need to plan, and then you need to implement that. So to plan, first of all, you need to understand in Azure what is a DevOps, how it is providing, what are the functionalities we have already, and what I need to integrate to achieve that particular task. So Azure DevOps also provides an integration of third-party tools as well. It's not that you have to use only the tools which they have provided or only the functionalities what they have provided. You can even integrate some third-party tools, right? So based on that, you will plan, and then you will implement the solution what you are thinking about, right? That's a major jobs now what I see in the industry right now, because everybody is trying to move. Azure DevOps is providing some least cost actually compared to any other cloud, and more functionalities in the sense they are providing more of templates to automate our CI/CD process. Okay, so now you can see these are the services that we are going to discuss in Azure DevOps. Okay, one more point I need to tell. We have Azure services and we have Azure DevOps. Both are running in a different platform actually. Okay, if you want to create some virtual machine, or if you want to work on Azure Active Directory, or if you want to manage some network in Azure, or if you want to manage some storage in the Azure, that comes under Azure services. Okay, anything related to DevOps like Azure Repos, Azure Dashboard, artifacts, test plans, pipelines, this comes under DevOps. Okay, so you will be having two URLs. One is for services, which you want to handle in Azure, and one is for DevOps, which is nothing but dev.azure.com. For services, it is portal.azure.com. There are two different platforms which they are providing to handle this. Whereas in AWS, you can see it is a single AWS console will you log in and you will access your AWS, what do you say, DevOps services and your normal AWS compute and network services and all, right? But here there are two different portals to handle this. They want to segregate this. That's the intention of whole intention of Azure to separate this actually. Okay, so some companies might work only on DevOps uh, platform, right? So that's the reason they have segregated it to have some better billing and better accessibility. Okay, so these are the services which we are going to cover in this particular course. Not only this, we have to learn some Azure services as well. Like I have listed at the end, I will tell you what are those. Okay, because if you want to run some pipeline, you need some platform, right, to run some particular code and all, whether it is a container or whether it is a virtual machine, whatever it is. If you are developing a .NET code, you need to test it. As a developer, every time I cannot execute all the commands, right? It is boring or it is frustrating for me to execute each and every command for every small change. I want to automate this process. I need some particular pipeline. Whenever I commit some code in GitHub repository or Azure repository or AWS code commit or Bitbucket, whatever it is, whatever I use. Okay, so that is a code repository where you will store the code. Whenever I push the code, okay, something has to trigger a pipeline or some particular CI/CD pipeline or whatever it is. Okay, it has to trigger and it should run all the commands what I used to do to test it. Right? That is so simple to understand. Okay, so that is what we try to do in this pipelines and all. Pipelines we do both by a build and delivery or whatever it is we call. Okay, a release. So these are the services which I want to make it simple. So if you want to see in the dashboard level, let me show you it actually. Yeah. So this is the portal. Everybody can create their own account. It is not payable. They are providing you 1 month free, okay, which is more than enough to learn your Azure DevOps. Okay, 1 month free. Actually, they will provide you 13,500 change in INR. Okay, in dollars it is $200. Okay, so you need to create your own separate account and you need to give your credit card details. Okay, they will deduct only 2 rupees and they don't charge you anything once you cross the limit. Means limit in the sense whichever comes first, either 1 month or the 13,500. After that they will suspend your subscription. Okay, so no need to worry that okay, I gave my credit card, will they charge me automatically and all? No, it's not like that. Okay, so you have to change your plan. If you want to purchase, then you need to go from free to pay as you go or something, a kind of subscription. We will discuss in detail in the actual session, but that's how the Azure provides you. Okay, now to handle your DevOps, we use dev.azure.com. Okay, this is the URL which you can see, dev.azure.com. To handle your services, we use portal.azure.com. Okay, so you can use sign in. This is my account actually. You can see this is my Azure portal where I can create virtual machines, Azure Active Directory, subscriptions, app services, monitoring, storage. I can do a lot of what other Azure is providing me as services that I can handle here. But what about DevOps? I don't see anything here. That you can go here and see. Okay. Sorry for the sound, guys. Like there is some background noise going on. Yeah. So there is a dev.azure.com. This is my Azure Azure DevOps portal where I can create some organizations, and in that organization I create some projects. Let's say you are working for a company, okay, and you have different clients. For every client or within the client, we have multiple projects. Okay, then you can create a different project. For every project, you will get this services. What is that? Azure Boards, Azure Repository, Azure Pipeline, Azure Test Plans, and Azure Artifacts. Okay, so these are the services. And you can integrate third-party tools as well that we will see in the process of learning this particular Azure DevOps. Okay, apart from this, we need to learn some services in this Azure service. It's not about only teaching DevOps. I just want to give you some hands-on experience on some services as well. Why? Because when you want to do some CI/CD operation, or when you want to deliver some particular build, or if you want to build some application, you need some platform, right, to run it. Then you need to learn about these services, few services. Okay, but here I just want to explain you that there are two different URLs to handle your DevOps services and your normal Azure services. Okay, this I will tell you how to create your account, how to handle this and all we will discuss. Now coming to the point, yeah. Now this is one. What is Azure Boards? Okay, Azure Boards is something which you see your Kanban boards or Jira. Okay, iTrack, which we call it as iTrack or Zira, right? So which we create some story in the sense for what, let's say there is a project. I'll explain you in detail in practical way how we do it. Let's say you got some project. Okay, after you got some project, the first thing what they will do, they will plan. Okay, plan in the sense they will tell, this is my expectation, this project has to complete by this year. Okay, then what your manager will do, he will create some particular sprints. Sprint in the sense, for every sprint you will release some particular application functionality. Okay, and this sprint in the sense, it depends on company, but sprint in technical terms in DevOps is nothing but 2 weeks actually. It can be 3 weeks. Some company might tell like sprint is equal to 3 weeks. Actually, it depends upon their requirement. But actual sprint minimum weeks is nothing but 2 weeks. Let's say in these 2 weeks, they will create your manager or your scrum master. Your manager will tell that this is the sprint and this is the functionality you have to develop. Okay, then it comes to your scrum masters. What your scrum masters will do, because we are following the not the agile model, right? Okay, so we are following the scrum model right now. So every scrum team will get some particular functionality they need to implement. Okay, in that sprint they'll create a stories or issues or bugs. It depends upon, it's a new project, right? Obviously you will create some stories. Okay, so that stories will look like this. Okay, in the Azure boards, you can see on the right hand side, left hand side is something is like a flow. Okay, I took this screenshots from official Microsoft itself. Okay, it's not my dashboard. When we create, right, we can see our this particular flow as well. Okay, so what they will do in this sprint, they will create some stories. Let's say for storage, they will create some story. Okay, for .NET Core development, they will create some story. And for this particular Scrum team, I'm talking about. And there will be another story which will be created. So there will be plenty of stories to deliver that particular application in that particular sprint. That story will be split among your Scrum teams. Once you got some stories, let's say out of 30 stories, there are three scrum teams. One scrum team got 10 stories. Okay, now your scrum team is having only 2 members. Now these 2 members have to work on this particular stories actually. Okay, and these stories, your scrum master will decide which is priority. Okay, obviously, right? See, I cannot pick a small one which is not so important and deliver that first. First I need to work on high priority. So they will assign some particular label or some particular tag saying that this is a priority, high priority or medium or low. Okay, these are the priority levels we have: high, critical, medium, low. These are the four priorities which we might have. Critical, we don't use it, this tagging. We use only high, medium, low. Okay, so high in the sense it should be delivered as soon as possible. By hook or crook, we have to complete. Okay, so maybe within the sprint or below the sprint itself, maybe in 2 days or 3 days that we need to deliver. Okay, so the scrum master in the team, we will try to create some that stories priorities. He will update the story description and all. That will be done in this dashboards. Okay, so instead of your company looking for a new tool to create a dashboard like this, Azure itself is providing you this particular board where you can handle your project by interacting with this particular stories. Why we need this particular stories? Actually, I can work on the project right directly. So why I need to do this? Because we need to track them, what you have done, what is your progress, when you are going to deliver, are you stuck in somewhere, then your other team member needs some particular story what you have worked. So he will look at a story and he will help you, and what you will write some comments, right, in each and every story. Comment in the sense like what we do, some comments we write in Facebook post and all, right, comments. Similar to that, here also we have some comments which you can write. Okay, so comments, you will tell that I have implemented this so and so XYZ, but after implementing this it is not able to execute this particular command or something. Then he will read the story, he will understand, okay, you are stuck in that, okay, let me help you. This is something where to for interaction and to track the progress of that particular functionality. Okay, so to do all these things, we will have this particular Azure boards. Okay, epic or features we create, and then we create a task, and that task we create a issues or what do you say, we create a subtask as well. Subtask in the sense, in the main task, let's say you need to what do you say, create some virtual machine. Okay, you created one subtask for creating the network, one subtask for something security, one subtask for AMI, something like that. And then once all the subtasks are done, your main task will be closed. You'll keep in progress, and after, you can see, right, new, active, staging, and deploy. These are the standard, what do you say, they have changed this particular labeling. Actually, we can also do it. Okay, new in the sense, it is not yet started, it is not assigned to anyone actually. Okay, then you will be in progress, means you have started working on it, means in progress. Once you are done, you will tell like it is done, the status to done. Once it is done, your scrum master will decide whether to close it or not. Okay, whether she has seen that all the functionality has been implemented, whether technical or non-technical it is, by looking at the progress and all, they can understand whether the functionality is clearly. You will do some testing, right? Based on the results, she will decide whether to, she or he will decide, your scrum master will decide to close the story what you are about it. Okay, so all these things now, no need to look at some Jira story or some particular new tool to do a track like this. So Azure itself is providing you something called boards. Okay, any questions in this? I'll go further. Only few questions, please, which is relevant to this. I hope some people might, who are already working in, they might have seen some Jira, iTrack or something like that. Okay, whether you follow Agile model or a Scrum model, whatever it is. Okay, am I audible, guys? I hope so. Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So no questions in this, right? So it's clear. Okay. It has nothing to do with your implementation of CI/CD. It is just to track your progress of your project. Okay. So that's how the Agile model or your Scrum model will follow of using this Azure DevOps board. Okay.
Yeah, so here I have one question. Sorry.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, whether this is completely the process which you are showing, the new active staging and deploy.
Yes.
So all
We
these
can
things.
customize it. We can
Yeah,
customize. Let's say here he kept it as new, right? Active,
yeah,
staging, and deploy.
yeah.
We can
So
change
this,
this.
yeah, this one is. Can we call this as an agile process, or this is a different process?
It is a see, Scrum is nothing but every team
Part
will
of
have
agile.
all the yeah, Scrum
Yeah,
model.
yeah. So we can call this as an agile,
Agile,
right?
yes, exactly.
Okay, okay, fine.
Waterfall model and all these are outdated actually. You will never hear this from now, right?
Correct.
Waterfall model. Everything is
Yeah,
agile. Okay.
yeah.
That's the reason you will see a lot of new features or new tools are coming into open source or whatever it is, right? This is because of these models what they are following right now. Okay, so now I don't want to explain this, right? It is unfortunate. Yeah, so then we have Azure Reports. I think most of the people might have already worked on this repositories. So GitHub, Bitbucket, or your GitLab, or your if you are working on already an AWS code commit. Okay, so these are called as repositories. What is this repositories? Does anyone know? We have two types of repositories. Does anyone know about it? We have two types of repositories. Anyone?
Yes, I think it's local and remote repositories.
No, 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 not like that. I'm
Public
talking
and
about
private.
that is
Public and
about
private.
access. That is access level. That is access level of your repository. In version control system, we have two types. This is called as version control system, right? I'll tell you what is that and all. But if anyone knows, we have two types of version control system.
Yes,
Any guess?
I think centralized version control system and distributed version control system.
Distributed.
Right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So we have centralized version control system and we have distributed version control system, right? We will discuss that in detail in our actual scenario, but can you guess, can you tell me one example for centralized version control system and one example for distributed version control system?
Centralized is
TFVS
TFS and distributed is Git.
SVN on
Yes.
Git.
Okay. SVN comes under?
Centralized.
Okay. And this Git and all?
Centralized.
Distributed.
So distributed.
Distributed. So centralized version control system and we have distributed version control system. Version control system in this is simple. I need to track everything. Whoever is working on the project, I need to see each and every change which is happening in the code. How you can track it? If you are using a normal editors like Vim editor or Gedit or Notepad++ or Visual Studio Code, normal, I'm saying without this version control system, I cannot track it, right? I don't know who opened the file. I don't remember which line I added last few days before, or I don't know when the project was started, what is the first line I have written in the code. You don't know, right? We need something who need to track this particular changes what I'm doing on the code, right? That's where this Git came into picture. Or before that we have this centralized version control system called SVN, subversion, right? So what is the intention of this? This will track the file. Let's say if you're using a normal Linux operating system, we use some vi editor or Vim editor or gedit or nano, right? Some editor, you will open the file and you will write some particular code, Python code or Golang or Ruby or something like that. You'll be writing the code, okay? But once you save it and once you push it to your, what do you say, some remote server or something like that, if you don't have Git and all, okay, you never know what changes you have done, who did it, when did it, okay, what line he has changed it, right? Once, see, the file will show you only who has opened it. I mean, it's like what is the last open time, okay, who has accessed that particular file for the last time. That timestamp will be printed, but not like who has opened it, who changed it and all. So for that only, this version control system will track each and every change what you have done, each and every line, what file you have created, what you have deleted, what you have done, each and everything will be tracked in the version control system. I'll give you a simple example why what is the benefit of distributed version control system over centralized version control system. In the sense, centralized version control system, every commit you do, it will go to the remote server. Whatever the changes you do here, always it should be synchronized with your centralized version control system, right? Whereas for means, which means that there should be a connectivity, what are the changes you do, okay? Whereas in the distributed version control system, first you will push your changes to your local repository, then whenever, even if you don't have your connectivity as well, you can save your changes in the local repository. Whereas in the centralized version control system, each and every changes you need to save, that should be done directly in the center, not in the local, okay? In the remote server it will be done directly, not in your local. That's a challenge which you have in a centralized version control system. In a distributed version control system, first you will save it locally and then you will push it to the remote repository, okay? So that's where distributed version control system has become more popular and more feasible, okay, than centralized version control system. This is a single line answer actually which I gave, but we will go in depth when we come across that particular tool, okay? Now what is your Azure Repos? Is it a centralized or distributed? It is a distributed version control system, normal Git, okay? Even we can integrate our GitHub to your Azure Repos. You can integrate your GitLab to your Azure Repos. Even you can integrate your SVN to your Azure Repos. All these functionalities are available in Azure Repos, okay? In Azure Repos, we can integrate all of this them. Why? Because we can create a private repository and public repository. Both of the repositories we can create, whatever other tools are providing. Even Azure Repos is also providing you the same functionality, private and public, okay? Private in the sense it will be within your organization, public in the sense everybody can download the they can clone the code and they can work on that, Okay, and we have pull request and the code search. Okay, pull request in the sense it is nothing like a merge request which you send. You might heard about merge request, right? Similar to that, it is called as, here it is pull request. Okay, only a technical term has been changed, but it is the same functionality. Okay, so it looks like this. If you look at this particular slide on the this particular screenshot, right, it looks like this here. If you look at my official dashboard here, this is the where you will create a repository. Where is that? Here. Okay, I don't have any repository right now, but all the repositories will be stored here. I can create a number of repositories. Even if I want to integrate my any other repository, I can integrate that. Okay, let's say a third party repository and all, if I want to integrate that also, we can integrate here. Okay, import repository, you can see. Okay, you can give the URL. Okay, you can give the name of it. Okay, and then we have something like manage repositories, where you can control this settings, policies in the sense, let's say if someone wants to, let's say I don't want everybody to merge to the master branch, or now it is renamed as main, right? Now I don't want allow everybody to merge to the main branch. If I want to control that, you can do that. Okay, and if someone is trying to push the code related to some particular path, okay, I can block them. So all these things can be controlled through policies and security. Okay, security in the sense the permissions to whom I gave, they can only do some actions on your repository. Okay, so there are a lot of other stuffs that we need to learn, but here these are the things which you can see. Okay, you can go to that repository settings. Okay, and then you can change the settings, or you can work on the policy, and you can add a security to this particular repository as well. Okay, there are so many things which you can do. Okay, so this is the repositories. Okay, sorry, yeah, this is the one. Okay, so right now I don't have anything. Okay, you don't see anything repositories here. Okay, even you can clone to your Visual Studio Code, which I have here. You can see this, right? This is my Visual Studio Code tool which I have. Okay, this is my Terraform related code, but yeah, this I can integrate that particular repository to my Visual Studio as well. I can clone it directly. So which means that it is simplifying your job to integrate to any one of the editor and start working on your code and push it. Okay, so these are the things which we can do in the repos. Okay, you can see the pull request, tags, branches, pushes, commits. Okay, and the files in the sense your actual code. Okay, so all these things can be managed from Azure Repos from here itself. Okay, now so this is all about your Azure Repos. Okay, so the functionalities of Azure Repos which provides for your Azure DevOps is nothing but whenever you do some changes to the repository, automatically a CI/CD has to run. Means a pipeline has to be triggered. Okay, so that's how we can integrate your Azure Repos with your Azure pipelines, which means that whenever someone is doing some changes on a specific branch, or any branch, or a specific tag, or any tag, okay, I can control that. Okay, so if a person is trying to do some changes on a specific branch like release branch, okay, main branch, okay, or dev branch, this is the branching strategy. We will discuss that as well. Okay, so in whichever branch you are doing some changes, then only your pipeline has to trigger specific to that, right? So in that way we will control this particular Azure Reports. Okay, so we'll be discussing that as well. Auto trigger or manual trigger, whatever it is. Okay, so whatever it is, based on our requirement, we will try to integrate that. Okay, so pull request is something where if you want to merge your code, you can add your reviewers as well. Reviewers in the sense it cannot be merged directly. One branch code cannot be merged directly with another branch. In Azure Repos, it will create a pull request. You need to add your reviewers. They will review. They will get a notification like email notification and all. Okay, and they will review your code, and then they will approve or they will reject. It depends on them. If it is approved, then only it can be merged. If not, again you need to add, you can see a screenshot here, right? They'll be adding some comments, you need to address that, and then you need to do your changes. Again you need to send a pull request. Okay, if you have addressed all the comments, the developer will give you a review, means your senior manager or something, he will give you a approval, and then you can merge the code. Okay, so this is how it is. Okay, all these things can be controlled to your Azure repos. This repos can be managed either from your CLI or through ID editors like Visual Studio, or if you are using PyCharm, not PyCharm, Visual Studio, and then we have this IntelliJ. Okay, so some of the editors which we have IDE. So you can use any one of them. I'll be using Visual Studio for this entire course actually. Okay, so this is all about Azure Repos, which means that I don't need to look at any third party. Okay, Azure itself is providing a repository functionality. Not only is it is providing its own functionality, even you can integrate some third party repositories as well, like GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab. Okay, some other SVN as well. Okay, so that's another thing. Now, okay, yeah, you can see here, I told you, right, which I've shown you some option, right? If you enable that, it will ask you if someone is trying to do some changes in this particular path, it should reject. Block pushes from introducing file paths that matches the following patterns. These things can be controlled under policy or security. Okay, it is now, this is called as policy actually, repository policy. You can control that. Okay, so this is how it is. So now this is all about your repository which we have talked about. Okay, now comes with Azure build pipelines. So Azure build pipelines, in the sense, you heard about continuous integration, right? What is continuous integration? When some in Jenkins, if you have heard about that, whenever you do some changes in your GitHub, Jenkins will try to trigger the pipeline, right? So whenever you do some changes, let me open some Paint and let me try to explain this. Let's say this is your GitHub. Okay, and then GitHub. Okay, now let's say there are multiple developers working on this particular project. Let's say 1, 2, 3, something like that. Okay, now they will do some pushes to that particular repository. So I'm taking GitHub as an example because it is so simple, and every Git commands are same. The local commands which you execute is the same, but only the remote repository where you are storing your code has been changed. Either it can be a GitHub or Git repo, or sorry, Azure repo, whatever it is. Let's say here it can be Azure repo, repos like that, right? Whatever it is. Now, as a developer, let's say you are a dev 1. Okay, and here there is a developer 2. Not only developer in the sense everybody, right? Now, what are the commands you will execute locally? You cloned it, you did some changes. What are the commands you will execute? You will execute something like, does anyone know the commands which we execute in order to push the changes? Anyone? What are the commands we execute?
Push
I some,
update.
yeah. Git, if it is a fresh repository, you run git in it, right? It is to initialize your repository. Initialize the repo. Okay. After that, you will do some remote settings and all, and then you will run git add. Okay, either you will give some dot or you will give star. Okay, or let's say you will give a specific file name and all. Okay, if you give dot, everything. So now what it will do, it will push the code, okay, from your workspace, okay, to your staging. Okay, it will push the code to your staging, or it is called as index. Okay, so that's how it does in the next phase. After that, you will execute a command called git commit. Git commit, either you will open editor or you will write a message. Okay, let's say first commit. Okay, or some bug fix, you will add some number to it, something like that. Okay, so what it will do now, it will store the changes in local repo. Local repo in the sense what? Local repository in the sense what? Dot git directory, right? It will track your information. Okay, it is a dot git. Okay, wherever it is, it's a dot git. And after that, you will be using git push, okay, origin, and then the branch name, right? So this will push your code to the remote repository. Okay, this is a regular command that we execute when you're working with the git repository. Okay, this will push changes to the remote remote repo. Remote repo in the sense either it can be a GitHub or Azure repo or Bitbucket, whatever it is. Okay, either you push to the main branch or your release branch or feature branch or your dev branch, whatever it is. Okay, staging branch. Whatever branch it is, you will decide on that, and then according to your work, what you are doing, you will do the changes and you'll push. Okay, once whenever then you will implement a Jenkins. Let's say, for example, okay, here let's say you are using some Jenkins. Let's say you are using Jenkins. Okay, for example, before this talking about Azure pipelines and all, right? How you have integrated, maybe the Jenkins is nothing but everybody knows it is a CI/CD open source tool, okay, which is developed on Java platform. It is running on a Java platform. Okay, either you can write your pipelines using a DSL or Groovy. If you want to write in a more complex and what is a customized way, then you need to write in Groovy. If you want to go with the simple way, you can write with the DSL. If you want to use the existing templates, then you will go for freestyle project or something like that, right? So coming to that, you have created your Jenkins such a way that whenever I see some changes, whenever I see some commit done to my repository, a pipeline has to be triggered. Okay, so you have written some pipeline, means nothing but a job. Okay, so that job will get triggered whenever it sees some changes to that particular repository job pipeline. Okay, so in this job pipeline, you'll write whatever you want. Let's say execute maven command to create a var file from the source repository for Java code, and then push it to some artifact. Okay, and then your job pipeline is done. Okay, that's how you do. Here the intention is to understand is nothing but whenever you do some changes, whichever developer it is, whenever it sees some changes in this repository, your Jenkins pipeline will get triggered. Okay, whatever pipeline it is, whether it is a freestyle project or whether it is a Jenkins DSL language pipeline or Groovy pipeline, whatever it is, the functionality is to integrate. This is called as continuous integration, right? Making your code validation and building the code and making it ready. Your code is validated and tested. That comes under continuous integration, which means that now developer is not executing his commands locally and testing his code. Okay, he is pushing the code. Okay, and then he will. My job will test it. What are the commands he do locally? My Jenkins job will test it. The commands are written in the pipeline, it will execute, and then it will send a report to your developer. If you added some email notification or Slack notification or something like that, automatically it will send an email to this developer as well as your Jenkins administrator as well. Okay, so this is how we have integrated. Now a person has to learn Jenkins, he need to understand how to handle it, the administrator, he need to know how to write your DSL language, or he need to know what is the plugins in Jenkins, he need to know how to write a Groovy, which is another language that he need to learn. If a person knows Java, Groovy is not that tough. Okay, and that is a normal thing which everybody knows. If you know Java, writing Groovy is not too tough. Okay, you can handle that. But the person who don't want to learn any language, okay, but still he need to implement CI/CD with a freestyle project and DSL, you can implement, but that is also a complexity which you need to write. Right? I need a simplified way. So instead of that, now your client has decided that instead of using this Jenkins CI/CD, they want to integrate this to your Azure pipeline. Okay, now you will be integrating your GitHub or your Azure repo now to your Azure pipeline. Okay, so that's where your Azure pipeline will come into picture. Pipeline. So now in this Azure pipeline, what you will do? Same steps what you have written, you will write in this as well. But Here there are two approaches to do that. To do your continuous integration, let me write that continuous integration. Okay, this is a continuous integration process. Now, what are the commands you have written here? You will write it, but there are two approaches. Okay, in Azure pipeline, what you need to learn is nothing but there are two approaches. One is classic, and one is YAML. Okay, so simple. No need to learn any language. Classic in the sense it is a template where Azure, the best part of Azure is nothing but they are designing the template. Template in the sense, let's say for example, I will tell you, you are writing some .NET code. To test that particular .NET code, you will have some few commands, right? That commands they are creating as a template, Azure. Now you need to take the template, you need to specify where is your file, your .NET code file, main important file. I don't know much about .NET, but I'm saying that, okay? Where is your directory and that target you need to specify. Once you specify in that template, template knows how to pick that values and how to run the commands. That is called as classic approach. Okay, if you don't want to follow the classic approach, that classic approach is not having few commands which is not decided in that which is not implemented in the template. Okay, the regular templates, I can use a template, it will run the regular commands what it is running, but I need to add some additional steps in that particular what template is not doing. Then you need to go to the YAML approach, which means that in the YAML format you will write your steps and you will write your commands what need to be executed. Okay, so this is the two approaches which we have when you're writing your Azure pipeline for continuous integration, which we also call it as build approach, which is we call it as build pipeline. See, don't assume that build pipeline is only for coding. If you want to build some image, let's say if you are working on Docker and Kubernetes, for Kubernetes to application to get deployed, first an image should be developed as per your client requirement of that application. So first you need to build the image, right? Then you will write a Docker file, you will push it. Instead of you running the Docker commands to build the image, your Azure pipeline will do it for you. Build pipeline will do it for you. Okay, so build pipeline is nothing but this one. Build pipeline in the sense this one, this is a build pipeline. You can create a pipeline. Okay, it will ask you where is your pipeline, that repository, the code which you want, right? See, in order to run this commands you need that code. Okay, that code where you stored, it is asking you Azure Repos, Bitbucket, GitHub, GitHub Enterprise. If you are using any other Git, YAML approach is not supported. Check this tag. Why they have specified this tag is nothing but if you are using GitHub Enterprise Server, Bitbucket or Azure Repos, you can write your YAML approach build pipeline. But if you are using any other Git like GitLab or any other thing, YAML approach is not supported. Okay, and you can also integrate your SVN. Okay, centralized version control system, which we talked about, right? If you want to use classic approach without YAML, then you can click on this. Okay, so these are the things which you can do. So if you click on classic approach, you will have some templates. Okay, let's say go continue, and here these are called as templates. You can see it is asking you select a template. Let's say you are developing some .NET code. Okay, you can search like .NET, or you can say like .NET, ASP.NET or .NET Desktop, ASP.NET Core. Let's say you can say apply. Now what will happen? It will show you the step: restore, build, test, publish, and publish artifact. No need to worry about what commands it is executing in the background. Everybody will execute the same command, right? Whether you are a senior developer engineer or you are a normal developer engineer working on .NET, everybody will execute the same command. Okay, that is what Azure is providing you as a template. No need to execute a command from your end. This template will do it for you. Okay, now if you want to see it this particular steps in YAML, you can see like view YAML. This is the YAML approach. For every task, this is one task. Okay, so this in this steps we have the task. This task is nothing but .NET Core CLI @2 in the sense it will create a container in the backend. I will talk about that, what is a container, what is Kubernetes and all, because it is in our syllabus. Okay, I'll tell you what are the services we are going to learn as well. It's not about purely only Azure DevOps. We are also learning Azure administration as well, few of the services. Okay, and these are the input commands what it is going to run. Okay, if you want a YAML, copy to clipboard. Instead of using this classic approach, you can write YAML as well. Okay, so either you can use a classic approach or you can use YAML approach. Okay, so both are supported in Azure pipeline. This is called as build pipeline. Earlier in older version, I don't know the exact release what it is, but earlier they used to call it this as a build. Now they are calling this as a pipeline. They renamed it. Okay, so they renamed it. So now it is called as pipeline instead of build, but this is nothing but a build pipeline. Okay, then we have another one is nothing but release pipeline. So release pipeline in the sense, once your code is ready and you pushed it to the artifact in the sense where you can store your code. Okay, your var files, your code, zip code, or your images, whatever it is, you are storing there. So from your artifact, it will try to deploy on your server. Let's say I want to deploy on Kubernetes, Azure Kubernetes. You can see here, deploy to a Kubernetes cluster. I can apply this. Now this particular stage will contact to my Kubernetes and then it will deploy. Okay, so in this way we can write our stages. In this stage we will have jobs and this particular steps actually. This is nothing but, okay, it looks like this. Let me show you in slide, then you will understand. Okay, I hope this you understood. There are two approaches to build the pipeline. One is YAML approach, which looks like this. One is classic approach, which I have shown you right now. Okay, you can see the templates as well here. Okay, so here you can see something like task. This task is nothing but which you are getting from here, from the predefined template, or you can directly write your YAML like this. You can see update pipeline to the latest, pips to the latest. It is related to Python. Then he is writing some bash command, condition, and display name. Display name in the sense for this particular task, what is the name that he is trying to provide. Yeah, any questions?
So in existing templates, how we can pass the parameters?
That for that we have variables. Okay, let's say I'm designing some pipeline. Okay, so in the pipeline I want to do something. Let's say I don't have a repository here. Let me go back. I'll be showing you. I think I have a slide for that as well. Okay, let me show that. Here you can see some variables. Hope you're able to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this you will customize your parameters. Let's say you are working with AWS or you are working with Azure. Okay, for Azure we need a token. Okay, how will you pass a token? You cannot hard code here, right? That is a security breach. Okay, then what is the approach I need to follow? You will have environment variables or variables. Okay, you can use any one of the approach and you can pass your parameters. Okay, that we can discuss, but yes, you can do it to answer your question.
Okay.
So this is what I've written.
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry,
please.
sir. Actually, Azure Git repos come to the classic or YAML.
See, any repository use, the way you write your pipeline in Jenkins, you will write some pipelines, or anywhere in GitLab. Have you, if anyone knows about GitHub Actions or GitLab CI pipeline or something like that, there you will write some actions to perform once you pushed your code. It is not related to your repository. It is about what actions you want to perform when there is a changes in your repository. Okay, it is whether you are SVN or whether it is your Azure Repos, GitHub, GitLab, whatever it is, it doesn't care. It is only to store your code. Okay, to run the steps, we are using a pipeline. Okay, got the point?
Yeah. Yes. And coming to the another scenario, while going to the creating the CI/CD pipeline, which
Mhm.
scenario we need to think about it? Like what are the need to requirements like that?
That I cannot tell you orally, like, but we have to take into consideration first is nothing but the steps. Okay, what are the steps we need to execute to build a pipeline? Okay, So let's say I know how to execute manually locally. Developer knows. Whenever he does some changes in the code, he will run a few commands to test it. The same commands you need to write it in your pipeline, in your build pipeline. Okay, that is a simple thing which you need to understand. That pipeline, when you want to write some steps, what I'm saying is use the existing template. If it is already having some template where Azure is providing you, please use the template. If the template is not satisfying your requirement, then add a YAML approach. Okay, either you can add a classic approach or YAML approach. To ultimate thing is nothing but whatever the steps we are trying to run locally, that we want to automate through pipeline. That is a simple thing what we need to achieve. Okay, it's not a rocket science, it is so simple to understand. Simple guys. Developer will run some commands, right, to test it locally. That you are trying to do it in YAML. That's it, in the pipeline. That's it. Okay. Developer every time he cannot run some security validation, or he cannot run some particular unit testing and all, right? So that steps we will entirely create as a pipeline through YAML approach or a classic approach, and we make it ready. So whenever you push some changes to the repository, this pipeline will get triggered. Okay, automatically. If you want to control it manually also, you can do it. Or if you want to set a cron job also, you can set it. Okay, there are different approaches to handle these pipelines. Okay, but our best approach is nothing but whenever I see some changes in my repository, means for every single commit which I do to my repository, I need to trigger this pipeline. Okay, so you will set like that. So whenever it sees some changes in this main branch, automatically this pipeline will get triggered. You can see the file name in your code. You need to create one file called azure-pipelines.yaml. That is a YAML file we have to create in your code. Okay, so this will be one of the new file which will be created in your code. This particular YAML file will take care of how to run this particular commands to make your build working properly. Okay, that is approach. So hope you understood, or still any confusion?
Yeah, understood. And coming to the node scenario, how can we justify this or correct like?
Can I take your questions at the last, please, if you don't mind?
Yeah, okay, okay.
I make a note of it. Definitely we'll discuss on this. Okay. Now we have classic approach and YAML approach, which I have told you, right? Even if you want to set a cron job, we can set this. Okay, you can see the slide. This is, everybody knows, I guess. You hear cron jobs on Windows, Linux operating system, everywhere, right? This is the same approach which we try to implement, same format which you need to write in this Azure pipeline as well. Okay, this is the approach: minutes, hours, days, months, and day of the week. This is the common approach. So that's the reason I took this snippet, so that if you look at the snippet, you can understand how we can trigger a pipeline based on the timing. Okay, that also you can control. A simple question: can I set a pipeline to trigger based on cron job as well as commits? Can we do that? Both I want to do it. I want to trigger my pipeline. See, like this. It should trigger a pipeline, but this pipeline has to be triggered based on cron job when it is set. Like let's say midnight, 2 o'clock, it should run. Before that, if someone is doing some commits to my repository, then also it should trigger. Is it possible to set? Any guess? See, because you don't know about repositories, right?
Yes.
I guess.
Yes, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, it is possible, right? So this approach, if it is not there, then that is a drawback actually. No one will try to use this Azure pipelines, right? So it is a approach where you can set a cron job, okay, and you can also set a automatic trigger as well. Okay, so trigger in the sense what you will have in your YAML jobs. Okay, so job in the sense it will have several steps, and every job is dependent as well. If you want to set some dependency saying that there is one job, this job should get triggered only once the above job has been triggered, you can also set like that. Okay, so pipeline, we have stages. In each and every stage we have jobs. In each and every job we have steps. Okay, this is the flow which you have to remember. Pipeline, stages are nothing, we have job, every job will have steps. In every steps we will have the individual steps actually, whether it is a script or whether it is a task. Okay, whatever it is. And we can also set one job is dependent on another job as well. This also we can set. Okay, there are so many things which you can control in your YAML pipelines. Okay, so in this way we can build our job. This is a simple snippet which talks about how to write a YAML file. Pipelines, stages. Every stage will have a job. Every job will have a steps. Okay, in that steps you will write your individual steps what need to be done. Let's say if it is a Terraform init, Terraform FMT, Terraform validate, something like that. Okay, even I will explain you that, guys. No need to worry. Okay, so now what is release pipeline? This completes our build pipeline. Okay, which is nothing but CI process, continuous integration process. Okay, now next approach is nothing but continuous deploy. Okay, let's say once your code has been ready, you need to test it, right? Your application has to be deployed and it should be tested. So how will you deploy? That is called as continuous delivery or continuous deploy. Okay, in Azure pipelines, okay, we call it that as a release pipeline. I told you, right? This is called as release pipeline, which we do. In your build pipeline, it will store your all the codes in the artifact. From that artifact, your release pipeline will take the necessary things and it will deploy on your target missions. It can be a virtual machine, it can be a containers, it can be Kubernetes. Containers and nothing but Kubernetes also you can do, or it is a serverless platform service, anywhere. The simple thing is you need to test your code whether it is working or not. Okay, so that's where you will deploy. That is called as release pipeline. In this release pipeline also we have a templates, you can use it, or we can write our own steps as well. Okay, that is a bit tough, so better to integrate our services and to run it. Okay, now let's say I want to integrate my Azure app service deploy, which means that I don't need to worry about creating a virtual machine and deploying it. Virtual machine, everything will be created by your Azure. You just need to deploy your application based on your application type, whether it is a .NET application, whether it is a Python Django application, or Ruby, or what Ruby on Rails application, whatever it is, or Nginx application, whatever it is. Based on that, it will create a service for you, and it will test your code and it will run your application. Based on that, you can tell it, right, your application, what are the functionality you have implemented in the code, whether that functionality is visible in the dashboard or not, okay, in your website or not. That you can see. This is called as continuous deployment. Okay, so to do that we have stages. Okay, and the stages will have jobs and the jobs will have the steps, everything the same approach. Okay, so for this particular stage you can create another stage as well. Let's say for this I will add this one for time being only. Okay, now for this I need, once this particular stage is done, I need to trigger another stage. Then what you need to do, then you need to do post deploy condition. Click on this. You can do something gates, auto redeploy trigger, or post deployment approval. If you want someone to approve this, that you can do. Okay, if you want to add another stage, then add. You can say another stage has been added. Let's say I want to deploy a Java web application here, then apply. It will follow some steps. You can click on this, you can see what are the things we can do. Okay, run on agent in the sense it will run on a specific server to execute this particular task, the jobs which we call it as. Okay, so it is a bit confusing right now, but it is so simple. Stage is nothing but what you want to do here. Once this particular stage has been completed, what you want to do next. Okay, let's say once this particular stage was done, before deploying this particular stage I need an approval. Then what I can do, I can click on this pre-deployment condition. Now here I can say after stage, okay, you can say something like schedule or pre-deployment approval. Let's say one person has to approve. I will write a person name. This is the person who has to approve. Once he approves, then only this particular stage will get triggered. That also I can set. Okay, let's say I want this particular stage. Let's click on this. Not click on this. Sorry. Release stay. This one, right? Let's say I want to add here. Once I add it here, another stage. Okay, let's say deploy into Kubernetes. Okay, and then here this is a pre-deployment condition. in the pre-deployment condition after release, which means that it will run parallelly. What is this approach? This is serial approach. Okay, this is parallel approach, which means that these two stages will run at a time. After the artifacts has been triggered, these two stages will run at a time. Okay, if you want to run one by one, then you need to put it as after stage. Which stage you want to tell, that stage you need to specify. I want after second stage, then you need to specify this. After second stage and third stage. If you don't want like this and then you want like this one. So there are so many things, guys, which you can handle. I'm just explaining you, since it is a demo, I'm just giving you some shortcuts and going a bit faster actually. Why? Because I need to cover other topics as well, right? What we are going to discuss. Okay, so that's the reason we can run parallel jobs or we can run serial jobs as well. Both can be handled. Okay, so that is approach which we can follow. Variables we can pass, options we can set. Okay, history we can say, like how many times you have triggered this pipeline. Okay, you can add a task for a stage 1 or stage 2. If you want to control that, you can do it. For every stage to run, it will run on an agent. Okay, this agent is nothing but, I will tell you one point. Go to project settings, just a second. Here you can see, right, project settings. Okay, click on that. You can go to agent pool. Okay, here Azure will provide a virtual machine for you to execute based on your license key. Okay, it will depends upon license. I'm using free license actually. Okay, either you can run through Azure, which they will provide you a virtual machine to run your jobs, or you can integrate your own agent actually. Means I can create a Linux machine or some Windows machine. I can install some particular things, then I can integrate that particular node to this particular pool. Now what will happen? I can run my pipeline, my release pipeline on this particular node. Okay, in Jenkins we call it as slaves, right? Here it is called as pools, agent pools. Okay, so this is the one. I will show you this one as well, how to integrate your own virtual machine or any server to run this particular agents. Okay, it's a vast syllabus, guys. It's not that we are only learning what is pipeline and all. We are learning thoroughly, like what you can do. You have to be ready in such a way that you have to clear your Azure DevOps exam, AZ 400 actually. Okay, I was certified in Azure Administration and Azure DevOps. Both I'm certified from Microsoft. And so that's the reason I know like what are the questions they will be asking and what are the things you need to plan in real time. Since I'm working on that, we are working for a 5G network. Okay, so we are implementing Azure DevOps pipeline to entirely automate our process. So then I know something about real time experience where I can implement or replicate that. Okay, not the exact code, but I can implement that multi-stage environment and all. Okay, so this is about, see, if you look at high level picture of what is happening in the background in the release pipeline, user makes a new deployment request. So pre-deployment approval, the person will try to approve. Okay, it will go to the queue. Okay, in the pipeline I told you the agent pools, right? That is nothing but agent queue. So it will see which agent is free. It will go to that particular agent. Service queues to the deployment job to an agent. Okay, agent pulls and picks up a pending job from the service. So it will see like which job is pending, which is ready to run. It will pick that, and your agent will download all the artifacts from the service. I told you, right? The artifact will be there before your release pipeline. It will download all the code what is necessary, and then it will assign that particular step. What are the steps you have written that will get executed. Once that is done, agent pushes the logs to the service. If you integrate the logging as well, it will push to that, and then you can do the post deployment approval for your production server. This is what happens in the agent pool when you run your release pipeline. Okay, this is high level actually. We will go step by step. We will see practically how it goes in the background. Okay, this is high level. You might get confused right now. Okay, so this is how it is. We are trying to build a release pipeline with multi jobs, okay, parallels and series jobs as well. Okay, before going to the production, I want to run, after the dev stage is done, I want to run parallelly on QA1 and QA2. I want to check the results. Once both the QA1 and QA2 release has been passed successfully, then I want to deploy this into production. I don't want to deploy into production directly I want to use some particular concept in Azure, which is provided is called as swapping. Swapping in the sense, before going to the production, it will before that it will deploy on a temporary production stage, and then once it is approved, then it will shift one by one. Okay, so that is called as swapping. We will discuss that as well. This is really useful. This swapping functionality is really useful for your production deployment. Okay, so that's the reason I kept here, which is called as pod rings. So then we will discuss about that as well. Okay, so this from the artifact source, it will get the data, it will run your stages. Okay, this is how it is. You need to develop development servers, QA servers, pre-production servers. Your release manager will approve it. Once it is approved, it will run in the production, the stages, and then your production, once your release manager has approved it, then the testing will go on. Okay, post deployment testing. Okay, that also you can add it in the pipeline. Okay, so this is the general strategy which every company will follow. Nothing to skip or nothing rocket science with that everybody will try to implement beyond this. No, everybody will follow this. Okay, but the steps, the pipeline, the approach where they right, they will get changed. Okay, so this is one. You can see the sample example which I've already given it. Okay, and then we have test plans. Test plans in the sense, let's say you are writing some code and then I want to run some particular testing of it, maybe unit testing or something like that. If you want to run, Azure is providing a feature called test plans, where you can generate some reports, you can run your test plans and see the test cases, we call it as. This is bit high level. Who knows about coding, they can understand what is the intention of this particular test plans. Okay, simple. You can run your code, you can run your test cases, and you can generate some results and see it in the pie chart view or something like that, like how much code is executed, how many have been passed and how many have been failed. Okay, if you want all these validations and all, you can use this test plans. Okay, more of coding people who will try to use it. Okay, that's the reason it is called as test plans. Okay, test your code. Okay, so artifacts, I told you, right? Artifacts is a source of reference for us in the release pipeline to execute, to deploy the code, whether it is images or whether it is your Python code or Java code or your .NET code or whatever it is, that will get stored in the artifact. If you are using some open source, you need to search for some particular tool, right? Like JFrog Artifactory or some other artifact you need to search and you need to integrate. Instead of that, Azure itself is providing you, when you purchase a license key for DevOps, you no need to search for each and every action, no need to search for a new tool. Everything is provided by your Azure DevOps itself, artifacts. Okay, and then this is monitoring, which we will try to implement once our testing is done, right? We will monitor our applications, networking, infrastructure, security levels are also. Okay, let's say you are using some image, container image, and you want to see what are the vulnerabilities we have, critical, high, low, medium, that comes under security. Application monitoring, let's say you are running some web application like Nginx or Apache. I want to run some particular testing and see whether it is giving a proper response or not. If that is giving a proper response, then my application is running properly. That also you can monitor. Okay, infrastructure you can monitor, like how many servers I have running in the background, all the services are up and running or not, and networking as well. Okay, so we will try to implement Azure monitoring as well. We will learn that as well. Apart from Azure DevOps, we will be learning Azure monitoring as well, and we will be learning to implement this CI/CD. You need to learn some services in Azure. Okay, don't think that this is an additional burden for you, but it will add a weightage to your resume. I can guarantee that. Okay, it's not that we are unnecessarily adding some unnecessary services. These are important for you when you are working with Azure DevOps. Today you might come across, but somehow you will come across these particular services in your Azure DevOps or any DevOps you use. If you are using Azure services, then you might come across these particular services. More of the services which I added is nothing but containers and Kubernetes. More of them. Why? Because it is easy to manage to run your release pipelines. Okay, so what we will be learning apart from Azure DevOps is nothing but Azure Active Directory, Azure roles and RBACs. Okay, roles is different and RBAC is different. Roles comes under your Azure Active Directory. RBACs comes under your resources. Okay, so that I will talk about it. Azure Service Connection for services connection in DevOps. What is this? Is nothing but I'll tell you one thing. Okay, simple scenario. Let's say you have written your release pipeline saying that it should run on a Azure Kubernetes service. You know this one, right? Kubernetes. In Kubernetes service, if you want to implement in Azure, we have Kubernetes service. Okay, here you can create your Kubernetes service like Kubernetes 1, maybe version. Let's say today it is supported with some version 20.09. You can also use the pre-release or a default or latest one. You can, that Kubernetes version will get installed. Okay, now let's say whatever the release pipeline I am creating, that YAML file should be deployed in this particular Kubernetes cluster. Then how I can do it? How my DevOps portal can communicate or authenticate to this particular service? How is that possible? Did you had this question in mind? Azure DevOps, if it needs to communicate to the services in Azure portal, how it will communicate? Any guess? Who is already working on Azure DevOps?
Connection string.
How? Sorry?
Connection string.
Yes, that is called as service connection. It is not a connection string. It is called as service connection. You can see this, right? Here is the way. Okay, so you are providing your Azure DevOps to authenticate to the service what you want to communicate. So here you will create a service. Let's say I want to communicate to Kubernetes, right? Let's say I will check like Kubernetes and then next. Okay, and here you can see, right, Azure subscription. It is selecting my subscription. You can see this only for testing. I'm showing you. Don't think this is the final one. You can say this is my subscription actually. Okay, so the DevOps free trial, and here I will give that particular Kubernetes service connection name. Let's say KTS Azure. This is the name which will get displayed here, so that by looking at the name I can understand what is the service connection is used for. Okay, and then grant all access to all the pipelines. Then I can say like description, like it is looking for the cluster under that particular subscription. Right now under this subscription I don't have any Kubernetes cluster created. That's the reason you can see it is keep on loading. It is keep on searching for my cluster. Let's say I am not using my Azure Kubernetes service. I'm using some AWS or GCP or my on-premises Kubernetes cluster. Then you need to select kubeconfig. That kubeconfig file you need to specify here the content, and you need to then give it verify and save. Okay, we will see that as well. Okay, so don't worry too much. All these things we will be discussing as well. Dashboard, this project settings and all. Okay, artifact storage, what is the storage and all. So there are so many things that we will be discussing. In Prospector you will see only high level, right? But these things will not be can be what do you say added into that particular prospector. So that's the reason I explain here that we will be discussing a lot. Okay, so Azure Kubernetes, this is called a service connection that you have to learn. Okay, Git, we have to learn the commands. ARM template, ARM template is nothing but orchestration in Azure. Orchestration in the sense you can write your own template and you can create your resource. Okay, that is also a YAML approach actually. So now everything is now YAML approach. If you learn a YAML, I'll be teaching that a YAML as well, how to write a YAML file and all. Then you will learn how to write a ARM template. Okay, so this ARM template is also a YAML approach to create a resource through template, which means that now I don't need to go manually go create Kubernetes, specify each and every parameter and then create. It's not like that. It is orchestrated. In the template you will write some let me show you one example actually. It is for AWS but it looks like that. Oh, okay, don't know. Azure template, right? I don't have it. Okay, ARM template is nothing but a simple orchestration. In AWS it is called as cloud formation template. In Azure it is called as ARM template. Okay, you will be learning about virtual machines, Linux and Windows virtual machines, VPC networking we call it as, but in Azure it is called as VNet, virtual network. Azure web apps to serverless service, okay, where you don't need to create a server to install Nginx or .NET or Java or something. They will provide you. You need to select the language. According to that, they will provide you a platform to run your application. Okay, so platform as a service, right? This is infrastructure as a service. Okay, so Azure Container Registry to store your images, container apps to run your applications on a container level, web apps for containers, Azure Container Instances, Azure Kubernetes Service. Okay, so you'll be learning these particular services. Why? Because when you're implementing some CI/CD, not only for .NET, Java, Kubernetes, Docker images and all, for any requirement, this particular services will be helpful for you a lot. Okay, so this is the entire thing what we will be discussing in Azure DevOps. It's a vast syllabus actually, but yes, we'll be learning each and every point because you need to be practically thorough so that you need to crack your exam on your own. Okay, and you need to crack your interviews on your own. If interviews ask, you need to be in a position to answer each and every parameter, what it is used for, when we need to use, what are the limitations. These things always try to remember when you are attending some interview, what it is used for, okay, when we have to use, and what are the limitations. Okay, so this is my repository where you can get some any other course related what do you say syllabus and the content how to learn and all. And this is my channel where you can search some videos and you can learn some other topics as well, like Kubernetes, Docker, Terraform and all. Okay, any questions right now I can take it up. So this course will be for 1 month, 1 week here and there, so no need to worry. I'm not in hurry, okay, to complete the syllabus only in within the 1 month. It depends, if it is required I will extend. Okay, so don't worry that the trainer will try to complete only within the one in this vast syllabus and all. No, it depends, if it is needed I will extend. Every Saturday Sunday is holiday because most of the people are working, right? They'll get enough time only on Saturday Sunday to practice. So that's the reason we are not teaching on Saturday Sunday. Every day we'll be taking 1 hour in morning. I don't know the exact time, that will be decision will be taken care by your management, so you can approach them. And 1 month course fee and all, you can talk to them. I am only the technical person. Okay, so now any technical questions you can ask me.
Will you be even covering some topics on Docker as well?
Yes, of course, why not? See, I cannot tell you directly Docker commands in the backend, right? I need to tell you how to write a Docker file, how to create a network, what is Docker storage, what are the commands you will execute to build the image. Okay, so this I need to, obviously I need to explain.
Okay.
Kubernetes as well. I'll be not teaching complete Kubernetes because you know, right, it will take 1 month to complete entire Kubernetes. So I'll give you some high level view. Okay, if you need more about Kubernetes, you can always go through my YouTube channel or GitHub repository. You'll get Kubernetes deep dive. Okay, if you go to my repository, right? Why I did like this? Because this is the why. Reason is like if people want to learn about other things and all, right? You can go to my GitHub. Uh, you can see this channel, sorry, this particular repository. You'll get some repos, 55 repos are there. Terraform deep dive, we have Kubernetes latest manifest. Okay, and then we have Kubernetes deep dive as well. Jenkins, okay, and then Terraform AWS instance, Kubernetes, yeah, Kubernetes latest manifest. If you want to learn Kubernetes, you can see I have created Docker engine, and these are like Kubernetes as well. You can see the topics. Okay, so always you can learn from here. Okay, let's say first one. Okay, what is how to set up your, what is a Docker principles, Docker components. Okay, I even gave the output as well. If someone doesn't know how it is getting printed, they can see the output as well to understand. Okay, so these things are provided. You can search, it is a public repositories, no need to have any authentication. Directly you can fork or you can download and read it. Okay,
Sudhir, do we need Ansible Maven?
Maven, few commands. We are not learning too much of Maven. Ansible, if it is really needed for us to run Ansible playbooks, I will just explain Ansible commands. Okay, we'll write a simple playbooks now. It's not too tough. Like installing some Nginx web application or something like that. Okay.
And will you give course material?
For what? Yeah. See, everything will be given in the Visual Studio course material, and that course material will be there in GitHub, and you can download. And always, I will do the changes on a daily basis. Okay. So whenever you like always, you can read the document. It's a public. No need to worry too much. Okay. And moreover, we'll be creating a WhatsApp group. Everybody will be added to that WhatsApp group so that we can have some internal communication. Before going to the next class, right? You can discuss on the day itself. If you're practicing some evening time or something, and if you have some question, you can raise in the WhatsApp group itself. Okay. That is the
And
intention why I'm creating WhatsApp group.
interview
Timing and
questions
all is
like
morning, maybe 8 to 9 morning.
Sudhir, interview
You can
questions
discuss with the
like
management.
course only, right?
Sorry?
Interview questions will be like whatever course we need to
See,
take
we
care,
will be
right?
discussing as a part of the course. Okay. What were the questions will be asked, how you need to answer, what are the limitations we have for that as well. Okay.
Currently, you are
You can
doing
prepare.
5G project, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You can search in Google
Sudhir,
like,
for what?
you can search in Google like Azure for operators. That is implementation which is going to happen. Azure for operators. Yeah,
Sudhir,
Lakshmi,
what?
you are.
Yeah, Sudhir, only this Azure DevOps is enough, or addition to that, anything needs to be learned? I mean, Azure network concepts, administration
See,
concept
I'm
also
I'm already
required
training
for
this,
this,
right?
or
See, I'm already training on this. Do you think that a person requires more than this in his resume? It's enough, right? Azure DevOps, and you're learning Azure administration as well, almost. Okay.
so you are
As
going to
per
teach
my
basic
knowledge,
concepts like VPC, subnets,
that's what I'm
and
learning.
gateway
See,
security.
I'm training on this as well, right? VNet, virtual network, which talks about peering, okay, and then creating subnets, firewall, route table, everything. I given a single sentence of that service. VNet in this is networking in Azure. Okay. Virtual machines means security groups. Virtual machine creation, images
And,
and all.
and one more thing, so uh, where I could practice, I mean, in free account only, I'll able to build, I'll able to release the
Yes,
pipelines, everything can be done
it's
in there
enough.
only.
Free account is enough, more than enough. 1 month, right? It's enough. I'll tell you
But I
when to
have
create
created
an
and
account.
tried, it is
You haven't
throwing like some
created.
parallelism error. Yeah, they are asking
That
that you need to
you
send
need
a
to.
mail to Azure.
Yes. You need to raise a request. Okay, then you can run parallel jobs as well. Okay,
Sudhir,
So
within
parallel
two to
jobs in
three
the
days,
sense, mhm.
if there is a job is already triggered, right? If you want to run another job, then you need to. Okay.
Sudhir, what projects
Okay.
you will cover like .NET Core on top of which
.NET,
projects?
yeah. So we'll be covering .NET, and then we will be covering Kubernetes, Docker files, and Kubernetes manifest, and then we will be covering Python as well. Okay,
And will you cover
Python
Terraform
or
also?
Go, Python or Go. Terraform, see, Terraform I'll not teach Terraform. I will create a Terraform configuration files. I'll show you how to automate that through pipeline. That I can help you out. Yeah, no issues. How to
So
create a
there,
pipeline.
instead of Terraform, we will use ARM template, right? So I don't think
ARM
Terraform is
templates, that's
required.
fine.
Is it?
See, ARM templates, that is fine. See, if you are using Terraform as a common infrastructure tool, infrastructure management tool for AWS, for Azure, and for Kubernetes and all, then in Terraform we need to run some commands, right? To create your infrastructure. Then we need to automate that as well. Okay. See, we cannot add all the requirements of each and every one, but most of the things what are added in the real time, which every company is looking for, that I will automate that. Golang, okay, and then .NET, and then Docker Kubernetes, and then if time permits, I will go for Terraform commands as well. Okay, you can do it on your own as well. I'll train you in such a way that you can do it on your own. No need to worry too much about that. Okay.
So from when actual sessions will start?
He wants us to learn.
Maybe from Monday. Maybe from Monday, tomorrow, I guess. You can talk to the management guys because they need to collaborate all the people. They need to discuss a feasible time and then they will start the session. Maybe 1 or 2 days we'll start the session. Yeah.
So
Sudhir,
they do you
Docker
want
is
us to learn
See,
scripting
anything
language?
help related to any certification related to Azure administration and Azure DevOps certification, I'll be helping you out. Don't worry too much. We'll be discussing in the exam, in the course itself. Okay. Which types of questions will be asked, what you need to see, and all everything. It is a theoretical exam, right? You know, choose the correct answers. It is. Azure administration is valid for 1 year. Azure DevOps certification is valid for 2 years. Okay. And the
Sudhir
course
is
exam fees is 4,000 change. Azure administration. Okay.
Sudhir is Docker is separate thing or will that included?
No, it is not separate. It's a part of the course. Docker image
Oh.
building the Docker image.
And one more, I have been into application support only. Do I need to go Azure admin also, or is it something will you
Uh,
cover what all are needed?
what other topics I have discussed, that is more than enough.
Okay.
Okay. No need to scratch your head for other things as well. When your time permits, right, you can search on other topics as well. Okay. Storage.
Okay.
Sudhir,
Storage we
Sudhir,
are discussing. Blob storage, table storage, queue storage, disk, and all.
do we need to learn any scripting language to automate
Now,
things?
if you are really willing, you can learn PowerShell for this, but it is not needed. Okay. Only
Will
we
you
will be
cover power?
concentrating on how to write YAML files. Okay.
DevOps and Azure DevOps both are same or different?
See, Azure DevOps in the sense you will be integrating so many third-party tools and all, you need to collaborate a lot, right? But Azure DevOps is providing a platform for you to do the CI/CD operations, dashboards, and all. See, when you're doing DevOps open source, for Git you need to, for repositories you need to look for one tool, and for you need to install on one server, and for your CI/CD Jenkins should be run on one server, and you need to collaborate and integration between them. You need to manage these servers, so you need to do a lot of other stuffs, right? But Azure DevOps is providing you a platform where you don't need to worry about how to run the CI/CD. You need to tell how to run the CI/CD. You need to tell what you want to run in the CI/CD. Azure will take care of how to run that CI/CD. So obviously, like half of the burden is done, right? Even Azure provides you to integrate third-party tools as well, which you want to automate in the pipelines. So you are not
Sudhir,
managing the
will
platform. Yeah.
Sudhir, Git is included, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay.
So that's all, guys. Thank you. Thanks for joining the demo. We'll see you soon, and then we will continue the course. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.